Hi everyone, I'm Domitila Barros and I'm super happy to be here today with this amazing guest to take a look in the praxis when it comes to circularity. To be 100% honest, my goal today would be if we could move beyond buzzwords. Repair, reuse, and reimagine aren't trends. They are creative imperatives for a thriving future. And that's why we are here today, and I would love to have also some questions in the end, because our goal would be to have an open conversation. This is a topic that everyone in this room, everyone in this room also can engage and I think meet us at some point in our lives, especially when it comes to fashion. We have today Michael Pfeifer, co-founder from MOOT. MOOT has his focus on upcycling fashion and also upscaling, which is going to be, I guess, a great topic today after the interview you had.
Definitely.
We have also Monika Hauck, Frau Dr. Hauck, but we agreed today to be a little bit more near and don't use the doctor for today. Monika Hauck, co-founder from the Repair Rebels GmbH, is also a very important activator from the fashion revolution here in Germany. I think it's also very important to talk about it because I was just telling her before we started today how important it is to be long-term already in this journey and bring to us also all this experience. Louise Xin came directly from Paris to have this talk today with us. She's the founder of Louise Xin Couture and Open Story Foundation. We're going to have also the opportunity to take a little bit more a look on activism and also human rights as a part of it, which I think is very important because it is not only circular, it's also something that goes around and beyond. And Estelle Adeline, I hope I pronounced your name right. In case I didn't, please feel free to correct me. My French ain't that good. And she's the founder of Plaid-à-Porter. I was exercising on this pronunciation, you guys have no idea how long, which focus on conscious luxury and also upcycling. And I would love to start the conversation with Michael.
Sure.
And the first question would be, MOOT's model is built around rethinking fashion's entire life cycle. In your experience, what has been the biggest barrier to scaling repair and reuse in a way that resonates with mainstream consumers and not only with activists and super green consumers?
All right. Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. And yeah, we just talked a little bit about upcycling, and that's also what we at MOOT do. So maybe just to share a few words on that. So MOOT is a company based in Berlin, and we run two different business streams basically. So on the one side, there is an upcycling brand under which we sell upcycled products from post-consumer waste. But we rather focus on being an upcycling service provider. So we enable others to do upcycling at scale. And to come to your question, I think the biggest barrier is that very often companies somehow don't see the potential, or they see more the obstacles when it comes to creating upcycled products or to creating sustainable products. In the end, having a sustainable product is not really a USP. Here in the room, nobody on average cares about whether your clothing is sustainable or not. In the end, people just care if it's a nice product, if it looks good, if price for value is good, if it's a nice brand. So sustainability, that's not a selling point. So you need to find a creative way, also an economic feasible way, in how to integrate that deeply into your own processes. We just heard about upcycling dead stock material. That's, for example, one way we focus on upcycling post-consumer articles. So you need to find good processes to implement that at scale.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I was upstairs and I saw that placate where it was not only love, pre-loved. This is also something that I identify myself a lot with this pre-loved fashion. It's also, as we spoke before in the interview, is making also something more desirable. But in the case of Monika, for example, your company is, as I understand, also an opportunity for consumers that are already conscious, that are already into the sustainable fashion, but it's not that easy to find what is fashion, or no, what is sustainable fashion? Where can I find it? And if for the consumers, as I imagine, that are already into the topic, they are also very aware about the whole process, from starting from the materials until how it comes to the shop. And maybe it would be for me also interesting to understand how you see the consumer's experience at the moment. Do you also agree that consumers are not really looking into sustainable products, or is already growing the amount of consumers that search for your platform to find sustainable fashion, for example?
So we are not selling fashion, we are repairing fashion. And actually, repairing clothing that you already own is the most sustainable, creative, and loving way to engage with fashion. I truly believe in that. What we help consumers to make repair easier. So I'm a big believer in technology, in helping to change the world. Fashion industry was very slow in implementing modern technologies and in implementing innovation, but repair industry hasn't used any tech at all. So the local repair industry hasn't changed in the last 100 years. So it's still very small, dusty shops run by immigrant people, bad opening hours, no online presence. And for modern day fashion consumers who are spoiled by platforms, same-day delivery, you name it, this industry was no longer attractive and no longer findable. So with the help of technology, we help consumers who, for example, on our platform, 30% of our users have never repaired anything in their life. So they say, because I found you online, I decided, why not try repair? You know, I will not buy a new pair of jeans, I will repair that. So that's just a powerful and very encouraging for us as a company to know that we can sort of convert these people from buyers to repairers. 50% of our consumers live outside the big city. So if you live outside, it's very hard to find a good seamstress, and it is almost impossible to find a shoemaker. So we help these people via postal shipping to get access to the repair industry. We are also able to repair pretty much any item because we work with a distributed network of over 100 craftsmen. So we can repair shoes, jeans, but we can also repair lingerie. We can repair umbrellas because there are people who can do it and who love doing it. And maybe one very important thing for me, with technology, we are not only helping consumers, we are also helping local craftsmen. To get more visibility, to get more digital, and foremost for the craftsmen in rural areas which are affected that people don't go shopping and nobody comes to their shops, we can create more work, or even rethink in general how craftsmen should work. Because a craftsman can also work from his garage, so you don't need to have a repair shop. So we see each other, we see repairables almost like Uber for craftsmanship.
And as we spoke before, you're also involved in the creation. I was a super big fan of it from the fashion revolution in Germany, right? I think this is also a very interesting background coming to all the development that we are having today. And I am originally from Brazil, and in Brazil are also very open to circular fashion, and I have been traveling a lot, but my experience is also that a lot of even theories have been burned lately here in Germany a lot when it comes to circularity and circular fashion. That's why for me it's always so important to come back to Fashion Rebels. I can imagine that some of you guys already knows also a little bit about it. And now to come back to Louise Xin. Am I pronouncing right?
You're good.
Thank you. Because my name is so complicated, I think it's very important to pronounce it right. What the circular fashion system looks like from the lens of human rights and dignity? How do we ensure ethical practices are embedded and not just environmental ones? Because sometimes when you talk about sustainable fashion, you think a lot about environment, cruelty-free, but are also other aspects that are involved in the topic.
Exactly. I would say human rights is probably the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to sustainability in fashion. And as we all know, fashion is the second most polluting industry in the world after transport, and that's not a very good sign. And actually, SME brands, small medium brands, stands for 90%, and in some regions even 99% of the entire fashion industry. But yet, it only stands for the top 20 biggest brands are taking 70% of the whole world's markets. So what we're looking at is a landscape where the system in itself is not sustainable. Because what happens is that you, like we talk about recycling, repair, all this way to consume and wear fashion is nothing new. This is something we've done for the longest time as a human species, since we started creating garments to wear to protect from the weather and from different things. The problem is when we made this, when we started to produce overseas, when we don't longer know the people who are actually producing our clothes, we are also losing the values and the connection to the clothes that we are wearing and the people who are creating the clothes. In fact, 70% of the world's garment workers are living under minimum wage, and some worst cases that both Fashion Revolution is working a lot on is about who made our clothes. It's child labor, forced labor, and everybody heard about Rana Plaza, and what it creates is a circle where we have overproduction, driven by overconsumption, and it leads to all these clothes that we don't use end up on the landfill. So actually, human rights is a huge topic, but it's so hard to solve because it's so much into politics, into corruption, into government, it's poverty, and it's something that's too difficult, so we fashion to say, okay, let's not touch it. But unless we actually have control over our system and our supply chain, we will never arrive to any conclusion that can be sustainable in the long run. So I would definitely say that what we need to is to give agency to all these solutions and give that a bigger market share and opportunity to create a better system.
Thank you so much. And Estelle, with your brand, you give second-hand materials a couture voice. I think it's also super interesting because I am working in this area for 25 years now, and some years ago wasn't really imaginable to have also in high fashion or the couture sustainable recycled garments, and I think super special aspect that you are also introducing to the market. And how can high fashion influence perceptions and aspirations around reused and repaired clothes in the wilder culture?
Well, I'll try to answer to this amazing question. So at Plaid-à-Porter, I use materials that carry history, like patchwork plaids or crochet plaids or even wall hangings like Gobelin tapestries. And they once were labors of love, like often handmade in domestic environments, and then somehow by time got forgotten and put away in some dark corner. And yeah, I'm bringing them back in a new contemporary silhouette with a couture sensibility. And when this happens, when fashion, or especially high fashion, embraces reuse, actually the narrative changes, which means that old becomes aspirational, and circularity stops only being about or being a necessity. It's all about beauty and identity, and most of all, emotional connection. And that's where high fashion has a huge cultural responsibility, because we decide what's desirable. So if we as designers can show that reuse actually is no compromise, but it's character, we do not only make sustainable fashion more acceptable, we make it desirable. And that's, for me, that's the point where cultural change starts.
I think it's super interesting to see how this wording, desirable, came up already in this afternoon, right? Because even when you look at our, last time when you have the call, you have your favorite pulley that is made out of a blanket, for example. And I think this is a really important aspect also that we that work in fashion need to take a look on it. Is really giving new meaning, but make those things desirable, not only because they are a virgin product that nobody touched or wore, but because it's nice, because it's creative. And this would be my last question for today before we have 1 or 2 questions from the audience. In every single aspect of your branding, for example, in Plaid-à-Porter, we should be the, how can I say, the legacy when it comes to sustainability and circularity that you can see that's going to be the legacy that you would like to left behind with your brand?
I'm so sorry, I'm not sure I got you right.
My question was, you all work in a concept of circularity and sustainable fashion. If we would think about the legacy that the brand gonna left behind, the mission. I like the word legacy, but could also be a mission, etc. But I think we create something that's gonna left something behind. We try not to left dirty, etc. But it's gonna left something behind. And who should be for each one of you guys that you would like that this is the legacy that my brand will left behind?
Well, the fun thing for Plaid-à-Porter, actually, the legacy is what already has been left behind. It's like the wearable art we made like hundreds of years ago. Like what I'm wearing today is over 80 years old. So that's actually the heart of Plaid-à-Porter, like cherishing this craftsmanship we already have, instead of producing something new. So it's kind of the legacy of the legacy.
And Louise? Good.
I think fashion says everything about who we are as people without saying a word, and also the way we choose to produce says everything about us as a society. So what I would love to contribute with both Louise and Couture as a designer and as a founder of the NGO Open Stories Foundation is really to play a part as much as we can to re-put the human value back in the way we both produce and create fashion.
Thank you. Monika?
I would say definitely more appreciation for craftsmanship, because there is no beautiful fashion without craftsmen. And I really hope that with Repairables we can also empower craftsmen here in Europe. So we talk a lot about human rights in Global South. But actually, the craftsmen in Germany are also earning very little wages. And people say, why repair is so expensive? Well, because living wage in Germany is expensive. And we need these people because in Germany, in the last 10 years, we lost half of all shoemakers. So if this trend continues, soon all the fashion lovers, we will not have a place where we can actually repair our beautiful shoes. So this is a legacy which I hope we can leave here.
Michael?
Yeah, for us, it's super simple. It's not more, not less than making upcycling accessible to the masses. So maybe just one question to the audience. So who of you is wearing a second-hand article today? Okay, quite some. Who of you has an upcycling article with him or with her? Well, yeah, some people. So, of course, like I'm representing an upcycling company, so I'm wearing a bed sheet, a curtain, and this used to be an old leather jacket. And that's kind of what we want to establish with MOOT. In the end, upcycling should be as normal as consuming secondhand. It should be as desirable.
What I loved about this points that you guys shared with us is that it reminds me that when we talk about fashion, it's not like we wear what we like, and it's good to think about what we like, what we wear, but also they are the hands that create those pieces. They are as important as the pieces itself. That's why I love the idea of looking at it, circularity, in a holistic way, where we have upcycling and creativity. I see also upcycling as a huge creative resource, especially for the younger generation that can create things for themselves, but also human rights, also taking a look at high fashion, and get reminded in all of these points how important it is to think about the hands creating this fashion. For years we have been talking about who made those clothes, of if it's upcycled or not, but I think it's a social topic. Fashion has always been social, but with the way society has been changing, I think it's going to have more and more responsibility also behind it. And those are my last words to the topic today, and I would love to hear some of the voices sitting here today. I am sure that someone would have any question for one of our guests. Oh, thank you.
Hi, thank you so much. This has been really wonderful. I've been listening to a lot about repairing and upcycling, and my question is, what level of awareness is there within consumers when it comes to what kind of repair one must do, you know? The potential of repairing and upcycling. Like, for example, I come from India, so it's very easy for me to find seamstresses and like people who can upcycle stuff. But when I come to Europe, I'm trying to understand it's a lot more to do with what can I get repaired, how can I get it repaired, and what can I really upcycle. Is there any awareness from consumers as to, like, let's say I buy a piece of item which does not fit like the way I want it to fit. Is there awareness within the consumers that this is what needs to be altered or this is what needs to be changed? And if not, how do we bring that awareness? I hope that question came out right.
Yes, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, sure. Well, I tell you some very simple statistics from Greenpeace Germany, and they found out that about 50% of all Germans have never visited a seamstress shop in their life. So maybe that tells a bit about the awareness. And what we experience with repairables, like I said, around 30% of consumers have never repaired anything before. And we get messages with people sending their jeans and they're asking, like, can you repair that? And what about the sneakers? And we always have to smile in our team. We're like, of course you can repair it, right? So there is lack of awareness what's possible and what's not. And I have to admit, even I myself, I learn every day what's possible, and possibilities are huge. You can dye your shirts if you have a stain. There's so many ways that you can change the clothing, repair the clothing, and we definitely need to raise awareness.
Anyone else? Another one at your side.
Hi everyone. My name is Amanda. I have a question for Plaid-à-Porter. I love the mission. And as a creative process, do you think it's to have a design, you pick the garments based on their history and then design comes, or is actually the other way around? You have a design in your head, and you're like, I'm actually looking for something from like this time or from this context?
I love this question because it's actually, the whole process is a very different way from, like, let's say a typical design process. As you said, I'm not starting from a design and then searching for matching fabrics. I'm actually let the fabric speak first. So if we're talking about like a wall hanging, a tapestry, I'm looking at the patina, the age, the colors, what scene can you see on it, and I'm trying to let the story you can see live on through the clothing. So it depends really on the size, on the thickness, on the material, on everything, and then I just decide what it's gonna be. And yeah, that's, I think, what makes it very special, because every piece is a storytelling piece. It's kind of wearable art, and it's, yeah, it's a piece of history that lives on. It's not a cloth I made out of material you could buy somewhere. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
And this side, don't be shy. I can feel the energy.
Hi, my name is Sandra. Thank you so much for the nice panel. I have a question. A bit closer. Sorry, guys. Thank you very much. My name is Sandra. I have a quick question in regards to upcycling, also repair. I'm from Germany. I know a lot of customers are very, very price aware. Even though they always claim they're looking at quality, I see that claiming to buy in H&M might not, reflect the fact that people look at quality, but rather also at the price point. And I'm having in mind, how can we work with these consumers, especially because fast fashion is not really allowing a lot of space for upcycling or paying for extra craftsmanship for repair. And I'm trying to understand how we can actually tackle these masses, because a lot of stuff, even also we heard from the eBay talk before, is locked in people's closet, but not necessarily a brand that is resellable or desirable later on in any way. Thank you.
I would invite you.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's a big question. It's a tough question. It's true. Customers are very price sensitive, and of course that's also important to state, like the things that we are talking about, they're still in a niche, right? So if we just go outside, then if we repeat the question about secondhand and upcycling, well, we will see much different results. And what I believe is very important is that we find good processes to make repair and to make upcycling and other sustainable practices more compatible, because price is a very important decision point. Sustainability is not necessarily a selling point. So there are companies who externalize environmental and also social costs. That's something that we need to ban. That's where we need legislation. But on the other side also, sustainable companies were focusing too much on having a sustainable product. And then in the last years, they realized, well, okay, having a sustainable product, well, that's not really a selling point. When we speak about clothing, when we speak about apparel, then it must look good. It must be, desirable, because it feels nice. It lasts long. And that comes with improved processes on the one side and also with legislation on the other side.
Well, I can also add a little bit on the topic of cost. Definitely repair is a luxury in Germany. It sounds crazy, but it is. But how can we make repair processes easier? So we need to work with the industry. The industry needs to be more open to produce garments that they are easier to repair and that they also give access to spare parts. Because only once a craftsman has easy access to spare parts, it can repair the product faster and better. And by doing so, we can also reduce the price. So we really see that this is something that industry needs to work with us.
If I am allowed to add something to it, I totally agree with both of you, and I see a lot of potential when we come to regulamentations, especially when it comes to pricing. If we can have products that look similar, but with totally different price ranges, it makes it so difficult for the smaller business owner to put it out. And I also see the huge potential in this type of conversation, because in my imagination, you are already trying to put something out, and even though it's a small bubble, I find not that easy to have this type of direct exchange, and I see there is the power I think, as you said in your company, when you started with the solution and you figured out the best way and fairest and sustainable way to upscale is offering as a service to others that are also willing to go in the same path. And I think this is a lot of potential also when it comes to pricing, because the manga, sorry, I forgot the word in English now, makes also a difference at the end. But I know we have another question.
Hi, I wanted to ask you about the consumer side. If you think that part of the challenges implementing your strategies is the fact that consumers are not really aware of how products are being made, if this is part of the story, and also, if this is part of the story, how can this be adjusted in today's fashion world?
I would like Louise to answer this question. I think with your experience in the NGO and also with the brand, it would be interesting to see.
Yes, I totally agree. So this is what we're working on Open Story. So we use the creative industry. So we put the topic of both environmental and human rights not in the room of activists or policymakers, but into the mainstream through, it can either be fashion exhibitions or fiction films or documentaries. So you take the topics and you put them in spaces people don't expect them to find them. So we oftentimes talk to people who already agree. I think, remember when we had our first Zoom call and we was like, oh, we kind of recognize people in this crowd, and this is the whole thing, that people who are aware, they are already committed, most of them, many of them, and what we need to reach is to those who are not aware, who haven't been in contact with the facts about how the clothes are being made. And because, as the speaker before us, this panel is talking about, like, the brands are putting so much money into marketing of things as sustainable rather than actually making the product sustainable. So it's very confusing for the consumer to know what actually they can trust. And so this is really a conversation that needs to be taken on a very global and mainstream arena, into places that are totally outside the niched industry rooms such like this, and also not just places like Fashion Revolution and those who are already very self-aware and conscious consumers. So I think what's need to be done is to also take those topics and raise them in spaces that are totally unexpected, in a way that's not in your face, but like all of us are talking about, it has to be desirable. So the product should talk for itself and the message should speak for itself, instead of trying to convince people with anything.
I would have also a question to the audience. It could help us to, I have the same question as you have in your mind, and could help us to go up there. Who in the room right now usually research by themselves how sustainable or not a product is, or who made the whole process from finding the material until it comes to the shop? Who has time, enjoy the process, and really do it? This is huge. I wasn't expecting that much, but it's still, we are already in a very special cycle. And the one thing that I realized is, when it comes to the time and the effort, a lot of consumers are looking for brands that bring already the solution and are able to communicate that solution in a desirable way. If okay, it's okay if I add this to the reply, or not really the reality?
No, sure.
I think we have a time for the last question. I'm still very hopeful about this side. And remember, all these 4 people here, they have been doing this type of work for some of them, even some decades. And I think it's super special to have the opportunity to hear from their experience some insiders. In case someone want to do the last question, I would be more than happy to finalize this talk with you. There is someone? I should sit that side. There is something special here.
Hello, very quickly. My name is Angelina.
Would you please stand up?
I'm
Thank you,
from Australia. So I'm curious to know whether there are any programs in Europe where exactly this breadth of knowledge around circularity is being taught. Because we're trying in Australia, but we're so far behind.
Yeah.
And I'd love to know where we can come.
I would like to know from everyone in the stage, but I can start also with, even though I'm not one of the speakers, but I am in your situation, always striving to know where to look at, and I am a huge fan of cradle to cradle. It's theoretically seem super good researched. They think from A until Z, and they are all about circularity, especially when it comes to designs. And I think this is definitely a place where we can learn a lot about it. This would be something that it really leaked in my heart. Michael?
Well, of course, there are different hubs, accelerators, promoting more sustainability in textiles, but also the hard reality is that less than 1% of the textiles in Europe are getting recycled fiber to fiber. So I don't know if Europe is the best case to learn from, but yeah, also here at Fashion Week you will find many events. Also Fawn, for example, Berlin Fashion Hub is right around the corner. They will also find interesting partners in regards to sustainability and fashion. Speak with the Fashion Council Germany, of course, and also with eBay, because they are also hosting us today. And as they put us all on stage, of course, they have an interest in that area.
Do you want to also share any of your insiders, Monika?
Well, I think I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
I think in Europe we certainly don't learn enough about circularity. And the problem starts at schools, right? Because we want sustainability and we want circularity to go mainstream. And I learned repairing and mending while at school, growing up in Lithuania. And this accompanied me through my whole life. My daughter, growing up in Germany, she doesn't know how to do it, right? So I think really schools can be very powerful way to teach boys and girls the repair skill, the craft skill. Once you have made your own trousers, once you have made your own T-shirt, you will appreciate the one you have bought way more.
Louise?
I would love to give a shout out to the team from Germany Fashion Council. I had the pleasure to work with them 1 month ago already for Munich Fashion Award when I served as a jury, and also now at this panel. And I really seen how they have created this platform and space in Germany to really give room and agency to emerging designer who focus on sustainability. And the sustainability was on the table both for the Munich Fashion Award and also for the panel talks at this Fashion Week. So I think they're doing incredible work, because when you have the official fashion calendar giving the agency to this topic, is very important. I lived in Sweden before, and both in Scandinavia, in Denmark, and in Stockholm, there's a great forces there as well to focus on sustainability, putting that into the centrum of the talk. I think like Monika said, I think it's into the educational system that we really need to put most effort, because it's they are the future fashion buyers, fashion creators, and it's there when we need to start. And in Paris, have already collaborated with some fashion school where we are talking about sustainability. So I'm very hopeful, because we can see that the new generation really cares about this, is how when they can catch up and give enough power and space into the bigger shares of the fashion industry.
Estelle?
I totally agree with you guys. I might maybe sum up. There is still a lot to do in Germany, and we're all like fighting this fight. But I think especially in Berlin, like Fashion Week Berlin is having a huge focus on sustainability, and even fashion journalism is doing a very good job. But I agree that education from small age is lacking this huge topic. Also sustainability in general, not only repairing in fashion. But yeah, I think there is still a lot missing, and I love this question, and I hope someone hears it who can make these changes now. It would be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know what about you, but I learned a lot today. I hope some of you too. For me, it was very important to have a real exchange because I believe there is where circularity happens. It's when we really go in the realm and exchange a little bit. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much to our panelists. And I would love to have a round of applause for eBay and Fashion Council for having us here today.
From my side, I would like to add, in Belgium, you have close the loop